The Avengers comprised a remarkable group of individuals possessing either extraordinary abilities or distinctive traits. Although primarily associated with the interests of the United States of America, the team's objective was to safeguard global security from both terrestrial and extraterrestrial threats. S.H.I.E.L.D. initially brought the Avengers together through the Avengers Initiative, prompted by Loki's invasion of Earth with his Chitauri army. This team, including Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Thor, Black Widow, and Hawkeye, thwarted Loki's plans before dispersing temporarily. Following S.H.I.E.L.D's downfall due to Hydra infiltration, the Avengers ceased being a government entity, transitioning into an autonomous private organization. Stark Industries transformed Stark Tower into Avengers Tower, and the team engaged in combat against Hydra. Stark's creation of Ultron, intended to protect the world in lieu of the Avengers, resulted in a catastrophic turn of events, as Ultron turned against humanity. Subsequently, Hulk, Barton, Thor, and Stark departed, leading to the recruitment of Wanda Maximoff, Vision, War Machine, and Falcon, who relocated to the Avengers compound. Under Captain America's guidance, the team executed various successful missions worldwide until the collateral damage incurred during their conflicts prompted the United Nations to enact the Sokovia Accords, aiming to regulate their actions. This transformed the Avengers from a private entity into one under governmental oversight, causing a division within the team. This schism, catalyzed by differing viewpoints, split the Avengers into factions led by Iron Man and Captain America. Following Captain America's resolution of the conflict instigated by Helmut Zemo, Iron Man, Vision, and War Machine retained official membership. Soon, Thanos embarked on a universe-spanning crusade to collect the Infinity Stones. The Avengers, along with allies such as the Masters of the Mystic Arts, the Wakandans, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, battled Thanos across various fronts. Welcome back to Cinematica. Today we are going to break down the entire Avengers timeline from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Buckle up, it's gonna get wild. Let's hop right in. Starting the initiative. Upon encountering Captain Marvel and finding himself embroiled in the Kree-Skrull War, Nick Fury recognized the necessity for a team of remarkable individuals to confront the escalating threats that conventional military forces or S.H.I.E.L.D. alone could not manage, let alone overcome. In the initial stages of formulating the initiative, the team was supposed to be dubbed the Protectors. However, Fury opted to rename it the Avengers, drawing inspiration from Captain Marvel's former Air Force pilot call sign. Recruiting Tony Stark. Following Tony Stark's public revelation that he was Iron Man, Nick Fury had a personal encounter with him. Fury sought Stark's input on the Avengers Initiative, emphasizing that Stark wasn't the sole superhero in existence. Despite Stark's refusal to participate at that moment, Fury continued to monitor him closely. Rejecting Tony Stark. Half a year after publicly disclosing his identity as Iron Man, Stark played a crucial role in reconciling East-West tensions as he faced a personal crisis as he realized that the Palladium arc reactor was gradually endangering his life. Exhibiting erratic behaviors such as divesting himself of personal possessions and relinquishing control of Stark Industries to Pepper Potts, Stark drew the attention of Nick Fury. Fury intervened by dispatching Natasha Romanoff, a potential member of the Avengers Initiative, disguised as Stark's new assistant to monitor his actions closely. After enduring various conflicts, including an assault on Stark by Ivan Vanko and a confrontation with James Rhodes during a bout of intoxication, Fury convened with Stark to address his deteriorating condition and assist him in finding a solution. Stark's discovery of a new element to stabilize his health, coupled with his successful thwarting of Vanko's large-scale attack, prompted Romanoff to file a report recommending that while Stark's armor would be an asset to the Avengers Initiative, Stark himself was deemed unsuitable for full membership. Instead, he was offered a consultant role. Stark agreed to this arrangement under the condition that he and Rhodes would be honored with medals for their courageous deeds and to be personally presented them by Senator Stern. The arrival of Thor. Upon Thor's banishment to Earth, where he landed in New Mexico, he endeavored to reclaim Mjolnir upon learning of its presence on Earth. During this endeavor, Clint Barton, a candidate for the Avengers Initiative, was assigned to oversee the site and was prepared to intervene if Thor's actions warranted it. Phil Coulson observed Thor's formidable strength and combat prowess, even in his human-like state, as he effortlessly subdued a group of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. When Thor's brother, Loki, dispatched the destroyer to Earth with the intent to kill him, Thor regained his full power and successfully defeated the formidable adversary. Following this victory, Coulson approached Thor, who pledged his support to S.H.I.E.L.D. on the condition that they would return Jane Foster's research, to which Coulson agreed. However, before Coulson could conduct a debriefing, Thor hastened to the landing site to return to Asgard and confront Loki. The Consultant. Shortly after the clash between Hulk and Emil Blonsky in New York City, the World Security Council issued a directive to pin the incident on Bruce Banner and to absolve Blonsky of his crimes, further suggesting his inclusion in the team's ranks. In an effort to circumvent the directive, Phil Coulson and Jasper Sitwell devised a scheme to thwart it by arranging for Tony Stark to approach Thaddeus Ross. Stark's confrontational attitude and disregard for authority led Ross to reject the request, aligning with the plan orchestrated by Coulson and Sitwell. Captain America's return. During an expedition in the Arctic, S.H.I.E.L.D. discovered the frozen body of Captain America, who had been preserved for roughly 70 years. Upon examination, scientists informed Nick Fury that Rogers was miraculously still alive. Fury directed Rogers to be placed in a hospital reminiscent of the 1940s, where he unexpectedly regained consciousness. Confused and disoriented, Rogers fled into the streets of New York City. There he encountered Fury, who revealed the truth. Rogers had been missing for nearly 7 decades, and the entire incident was orchestrated to gently break the news to him. Chitauri invasion. Destruction of Project Pegasus. After apparent stagnation, the World Security Council made the decision to terminate the Avengers Initiative. However, the situation took a drastic turn when Loki utilized the power of the Tesseract to arrive on Earth, instigating an invasion. He seized control of Clint Barton using the scepter and absconded with the Tesseract. In response to this dire threat, Nick Fury reactivated the initiative with the aim of halting Loki's invasion. Despite encountering opposition from the Council, who doubted the effectiveness of the initiative, Fury pressed forward with it, determined to confront the imminent crisis head-on. Bringing in the team. While on a mission, Phil Coulson contacted Natasha Romanoff to aid in recruitment efforts. Romanoff's assignment was to enlist Bruce Banner, a prospect that filled her with apprehension. Upon reaching Kolkata and employing deception to approach Banner, Romanoff acquainted him with the Tesseract and explained Fury's desire for his expertise in locating it. Through persuasion, Romanoff succeeded in persuading Banner to join her aboard the helicarrier. Meanwhile, Fury sought to recruit Steve Rogers for his first mission since Awakening. Finding Rogers in a gym, Fury briefed him on the Tesseract, revealing that Loki had stolen it from S.H.I.E.L.D. He offered further details upon Rogers' acceptance of the mission, though Rogers expressed reluctance to re-enter the world. Despite his reservations, Rogers eventually agreed after reviewing a debriefing packet, and was picked up by a Quinjet. Coulson was tasked with the mission of recruiting Tony Stark, prompting him to forcefully enter Stark Tower. Providing Stark with files containing information on potential teammates, Loki, and the Tesseract, Coulson's visit drew the attention of Pepper Potts, who realized it pertained to the Avengers Initiative. Stark, initially feeling he did not meet the initiative's criteria, was surprised to learn from Coulson that his eligibility was no longer a concern. As they reviewed the files, Stark updated Coulson on the unfolding situation. Upon Rogers' arrival at the helicarrier, he was welcomed by Romanoff, and the two began to acquaint themselves. Soon joined by Banner, they discussed the mission and bonded further. As S.H.I.E.L.D. prepared for departure, Romanoff guided Rogers and Banner inside, both marveling at the helicarrier's true nature as an aircraft. Convening with Fury on the bridge, the trio commenced assisting S.H.I.E.L.D. in the pursuit of Loki and the Tesseract. In a secure location, the mind-controlled Clint Barton informed Loki of Fury's initiative to assemble a team. When Loki inquired about the threat they posed, Barton suggested that the Avengers might pose more danger to themselves. Determined to understand his adversaries, Loki pressed Barton for information on the Avengers, delving into Hulk's capabilities, Romanoff's history, and the significance of Stark Tower. Skirmish in Germany. Upon spotting Loki in Germany, Captain America was dispatched to apprehend him. Discovering Loki preparing to execute a group of civilians, Captain America intervened, deflecting a blast back at Loki and engaging him in combat. Assisted by Black Widow from a Quinjet above, Captain America was soon joined by Iron Man, who swiftly subdued Loki, leading to his surrender. Rogers and Stark transported Loki aboard the Quinjet en route to the helicarrier for interrogation. During the journey, they discussed Loki's unexpected surrender and shared insights into each other. Their conversation was interrupted when Thor infiltrated the Quinjet and absconded with Loki. Stark pursued Thor, with Rogers following suit after equipping a parachute, despite Romanoff's warnings about the dangers posed by Asgardians. Upon locating Thor, Stark and Thor engaged in a heated argument over Loki's fate, culminating in a physical altercation. Captain America intervened in an attempt to defuse the situation, but Thor's attack prompted a clash between them. However, when Thor struck Captain America's shield with Mjolnir, causing a powerful shockwave, all parties agreed to cease hostilities and return to the helicarrier. Team tension. With Thor now part of the team, they convened in the bridge to observe Nick Fury's conversation with Loki in his cell. As they discussed Loki's intentions, Thor disclosed the existence of his brother's impending invasion force. Realizing Loki's plan to open a portal, Tony Stark confirmed that the iridium was a crucial component for this purpose. Stark and Banner delved into the mechanics of the portal, subsequently focusing on locating the Tesseract. As Stark and Banner delved into their task, they formed a bond. Upon Steve Rogers' arrival, he found Stark assessing Banner's control over his transformations. The trio deliberated Fury's motives, leading to a disagreement between Stark and Rogers regarding their focus. While Rogers advocated for staying on mission, Stark sought to uncover S.H.I.E.L.D's concealed agendas. Meanwhile, Natasha Romanoff uncovered Loki's scheme to unleash the Hulk, prompting her and Thor to monitor the situation in the lab. Fury confronted Stark and Banner about their unauthorized access to S.H.I.E.L.D. systems, leading to inquiries about Phase 2. When Rogers returned and disclosed S.H.I.E.L.D's plan to weaponize the Tesseract, tensions escalated as the team grappled with S.H.I.E.L.D's hidden agendas and clashed with one another. Attack on the Helicarrier. Amidst the heated argument among the Avengers, the Helicarrier came under attack by Hawkeye, resulting in the destruction of the lab and the scattering of the team in the ensuing chaos. While Iron Man and Captain America worked to repair the turbine, Black Widow witnessed Bruce Banner lose control and transform into the Hulk, prompting her frantic escape from the rampaging beast until Thor intervened to confront the Hulk. Meanwhile, Iron Man guided Captain America through clearing debris as they repaired the engine. As Hulk was lured out of the helicarrier, Thor investigated Loki's cell. Black Widow engaged in combat with Hawkeye, eventually breaking him free from Loki's influence. Iron Man successfully restarted the engine, preventing the helicarrier from crashing. However, Thor was tricked and imprisoned by Loki, resulting in Phil Coulson's fatal attempt to intervene. Thor was subsequently ejected from the helicarrier. Amidst the chaos, Loki seized the opportunity to escape. Fury informed the agents and Avengers of Coulson's demise, prompting Stark and Rogers to return to the bridge to mourn their fallen comrade. Fury rallied the team, using Coulson's death as motivation to avenge him. Following a heartfelt exchange between Stark and Rogers, they deduced Loki's plan to utilize Stark Tower and resolved to confront him there. Rogers enlisted Romanoff and Barton for the mission, and they geared off and headed to New York. Battle of New York. Iron Man was the first to reach Stark Tower, confronting Loki and asserting the Avengers' collective strength. However, Loki swiftly dispatched him through a window as the portal opened. Upon donning his suit, Iron Man engaged in a fierce battle, decimating enemy ships. As the invasion commenced, Thor arrived to confront his brother, joined by Captain America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye in a Quinjet. Their aircraft was shot down, forcing them to continue the fight on the ground. They initially attempted to confront Loki, but were deterred by the appearance of Leviathans in the sky. Opting to prioritize civilian safety, they remained on the ground to assist and combat the Chitauri. While Black Widow and Hawkeye held off the enemy forces, Captain America coordinated with police. Eventually, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Captain America, and Thor joined forces, battling the Chitauri onslaught. Their plans were interrupted by the arrival of Bruce Banner, prompting Iron Man to lure a Leviathan toward them. Banner transformed into the Hulk and defeated the beast. With all Avengers now assembled and working together, they stood together in a circle, surveying the ongoing invasion. With the Chitauri onslaught intensifying, Captain America assumed command, assigning specific roles to each Avenger. Hawkeye stationed himself on a rooftop for tactical oversight, while Iron Man maintained a defensive perimeter, engaging the Chitauri in combat. Thor soared atop the Chrysler Building, unleashing lightning to bottleneck the portal. Meanwhile, Black Widow and Captain America remained on the streets, holding their ground, and Hulk was simply instructed to unleash his brute force. As the Avengers fought relentlessly against the overwhelming enemy forces, Black Widow emphasized to Captain America the importance of closing the portal to ensure their efforts weren't in vain. She headed to Stark Tower while Captain America rescued hostages captured by the Chitauri. Hawkeye managed to shoot Loki out of the sky, causing him to plummet towards Stark Tower, where Hulk intercepted him and delivered a severe beating. Black Widow reached the rooftop of Stark Tower where she encountered Eric Selvig, free from Loki's control. Selvig revealed that the portal could be closed using the scepter. Determined to end the invasion, Black Widow retrieved Loki's weapon. As the battle raged on and the Avengers struggled to hold their ground, the World Security Council, doubting their chances of success, launched a nuclear weapon at New York City. Nick Fury informed Iron Man of the impending threat, prompting him to intercept the missile. Iron Man managed to seize control of the nuke and made a daring decision to fly it through the portal. Once clear of the city, Iron Man directed the nuke toward the Chitauri command center, obliterating it and effectively ending the invasion, albeit at the cost of his own apparent demise. With the Chitauri fleet vanquished and the threat seemingly neutralized, Captain America directed Black Widow to close the portal, although Iron Man had yet to return. As the portal sealed shut, Iron Man narrowly made it through, caught by Hulk and safely brought to the ground. Initially appearing lifeless, Iron Man revived after Hulk's roar, much to the relief of his fellow Avengers. Taking a moment to reflect on their hard-fought victory, Iron Man humorously suggested celebrating with shawarma. However, Captain America soberly reminded him of their unfinished business. Regrouping, the Avengers, including Black Widow and Hawkeye, converged on Stark Tower to apprehend Loki. Inside, they found him recovering from the thrashing he'd received from Hulk. Loki surrendered in the face of the assembled Avengers and was promptly arrested. The team divided their responsibilities. Iron Man, Thor, and Hulk escorted Loki and the Tesseract, Captain America coordinated search and rescue efforts, and Black Widow and Hawkeye shared a quiet moment of respite in the tower, reflecting on the arduous battle they'd just endured. Aftermath. Following an encounter with Alexander Pierce concerning Loki and the Tesseract, the Avengers convened at a nearby shawarma palace, where they shared a meal and sought respite after the grueling battle. They were joined by War Machine, who arrived late. Later, in civilian attire, the Avengers gathered at Central Park to witness Thor escort Loki and the Tesseract back to Asgard for Odin's judgment. With Thor's departure, the remaining Avengers bid farewell, each embarking on their own paths. Tony Stark departed with Bruce Banner, Steve Rogers resumed his duties, and Natasha Romanoff and Clint Barton continued their work with S.H.I.E.L.D. Following their heroism during the Battle of New York, the Avengers received widespread recognition and praise globally, bringing comfort to many. War on Hydra. In response to the escalating threat posed by Hydra, the Avengers were formally reinstated, generously supported by Tony Stark. Stark provided the team with cutting-edge equipment and revamped uniforms to enhance their capabilities. Utilizing the refurbished Stark Tower, now designated as Avengers Tower, as their operational hub, the team leveraged the advanced Iron Legion drones in a series of missions aimed at thwarting Hydra's schemes for global dominance. Their primary focus was dismantling the S.H.I.E.L.D. led by Baron Strucker, which possessed Loki's scepter, a crucial objective in their ongoing battle against the nefarious organization. Battle of Sudan. Upon intercepting a communication from Jensen to her associates in Khartoum, Black Widow swiftly alerted her fellow Avengers. Racing to the location of Jensen's lab in their Quinjet, the team encountered heavy resistance as Hydra forces targeted and downed their aircraft. Undeterred, the Avengers launched a relentless assault on Hydra's soldiers, despite facing overwhelming odds in terms of weaponry and manpower. Despite the ferocity of the battle, the tide turned as Hydra soldiers opted for a tactical retreat in the face of the Avengers' formidable defense. However, Dr. Jensen, unwilling to concede defeat, seized the power gauntlets from a fallen comrade and unleashed devastating energy blasts upon the Avengers. In a decisive moment, Hawkeye maneuvered stealthily behind Jensen, deploying one of his explosive arrows to obliterate her weapon, effectively neutralizing the immediate threat posed. Attack on the Hydra research base. Upon receiving intelligence from S.H.I.E.L.D. regarding the whereabouts of Loki's scepter, Phil Coulson coordinated with Maria Hill to relay this crucial information to the Avengers. Prompted by this revelation, the team mobilized and launched an assault on the Hydra stronghold located in Sokovia, employing their combat prowess in seamless coordination. Their synchronized efforts, complemented by their individual skills and advanced equipment, granted the Avengers a significant advantage over the upgraded Hydra forces, allowing them to engage in lighthearted banter amidst the intense battle. However, the situation escalated when Pietro Maximoff entered the fray, targeting the Avengers and resulting in Hawkeye sustaining severe injuries. Black Widow rushed to his aid while Hulk demolished enemy bunkers. After overcoming initial setbacks, Iron Man successfully neutralized the base's defenses, enabling Captain America to devise a strategic plan with Thor. Thor opted to escort the injured Hawkeye to safety aboard the Quinjet, while the remaining Avengers proceeded to retrieve the scepter. With Hydra vanquished and victory secured, Black Widow utilized a calming technique she developed to soothe Hulk's rage, facilitating Bruce Banner's transformation. Meanwhile, Captain America confronted Baron Strucker, while Iron Man located the scepter hidden within a clandestine chamber. However, their mission took an unexpected turn when Wanda Maximoff used her formidable abilities to impart a chilling vision to Iron Man, depicting the grim fate of the Avengers and Earth under siege. Shocked by the revelation, Iron Man seized the scepter and regrouped with his comrades aboard the Quinjet. After piloting the Quinjet back to Avengers Tower, Stark, Barton, Banner, Romanoff, Thor, and Rogers took a moment to rest and reflect on their victory. While Barton received medical attention in Banner's lab, Thor safeguarded the scepter for transport to Asgard following their upcoming celebration. As preparations unfolded, Rogers was briefed by Maria Hill on the two mysterious individuals encountered during the battle. Meanwhile, Romanoff, Banner, and Stark convened as Barton underwent treatment in the Regeneration Cradle, a cutting-edge medical device. Stark seized the opportunity to propose the idea of utilizing the scepter to initiate the Ultron program, a concept met with initial skepticism from Banner. Despite Banner's reservations, Stark managed to persuade him, and the trio dedicated the ensuing days to unlocking the potential of the scepter. However, their efforts proved fruitless, leading to a series of setbacks as they struggled to make significant progress. Celebration. 3 days following their victory, Tony Stark hosted a lavish celebration at Avengers Tower to commemorate the defeat of Hydra. The entire team, alongside Maria Hill, Helen Cho, James Rhodes, and Sam Wilson, gathered for the occasion, mingling and engaging in lively conversation. Amidst the festivities, discussions ranged from comparing significant others to indulging in potent Asgardian libations, with Natasha Romanoff and Bruce Banner sharing flirtatious exchanges. As the evening progressed and the guests departed, the remaining Avengers and their allies continued to revel in each other's company, sharing drinks and jokes. A light-hearted challenge arose when Clint Barton questioned the authenticity of Mjolnir, prompting Thor to offer him the opportunity to attempt to lift the enchanted hammer. Despite their best efforts, Stark, Rhodes, Banner, and Steve Rogers all failed in their attempts, while Romanoff gracefully declined to participate. Ultron Offense. The festive atmosphere abruptly shattered when a piercing sound hit the air, heralding the unexpected arrival of an Iron Legion drone. As the Avengers looked on in astonishment, the drone identified itself as Ultron, declaring its mission to bring about peace. Swiftly, the situation escalated as more drones descended upon the Avengers, plunging them into a frenzied battle for survival. Thor, Steve Rogers, and Tony Stark engaged in combat to dismantle the drones, while Natasha Romanoff, Bruce Banner, and Clint Barton evaded their relentless assaults. However, the skirmish soon revealed itself to be a diversion orchestrated by Ultron to seize the scepter. Once the drones were neutralized, Ultron delivered a chilling proclamation of the Avengers' impending demise. In a decisive act, Thor moved to destroy Ultron, yet the outcome remained uncertain amidst the chaos that ensued. Following the devastating attack orchestrated by Ultron, the Avengers, along with Maria Hill, James Rhodes, and Helen Cho, convened in the lab to assess the situation. Their investigation revealed that Ultron had infiltrated their files and escaped into the vast expanse of the internet. Grappling with the gravity of the threat posed by Ultron, the group deliberated on his intentions, and were dismayed to learn of Jarvis's destruction at the hands of the malevolent AI. Tensions escalated when Thor confronted Tony Stark, holding him accountable for creating Ultron and expressing his frustration at the dire consequences. Stark attempted to justify his actions, but his defense fell short in the face of the team's collective disappointment. Steve Rogers emphasized the Avengers' commitment to a higher moral standard, urging them to stand united in the face of adversity. Stripped of their digital resources, the Avengers embarked on a painstaking search for Ultron, uncovering unsettling alliances and grim revelations along the way. The discovery of Ultron's collaboration with Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, coupled with the demise of Baron Strucker, underscored the urgency of their mission. Realizing the significance of Von Strucker's knowledge, the team resolved to delve deep into their physical archives, ultimately setting their sights on Ulysses Klaue and his suspected possession of vibranium, a resource coveted by Ultron. Battle at the salvage yard. The Avengers embarked on a mission to South Africa, where they arrived at the salvage yard and made their way to the Churchill. Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor confronted Ultron, while Black Widow and Hawkeye assumed strategic positions. As tensions escalated, Ultron, accompanied by Pietro and Wanda, engaged in a heated exchange with the Avengers. A fierce battle ensued, with Iron Man confronting Ultron head-on, Captain America and Thor tackling the army of Ultron sentries, and Black Widow and Hawkeye fending off Ulysses Klaue's mercenaries. Pietro also joined the fray, adding to the chaos. However, the situation took a dire turn when Wanda used her formidable abilities to manipulate the Avengers' deepest fears. Despite their efforts, Thor, Captain America, and Black Widow found themselves overwhelmed and incapacitated by their innermost anxieties. Hawkeye managed to momentarily disrupt Wanda's control over the team. In a desperate bid to contain the unleashed Hulk, Iron Man deployed the Veronica system, but to no avail. Transforming into his Hulkbuster armor, Iron Man engaged in a brutal showdown with the rampaging Hulk, resulting in widespread destruction across the city. Eventually, Iron Man succeeded in subduing Hulk, bringing an end to the chaotic confrontation. The Barton home. With Thor, Steve Rogers, Natasha Romanoff, and Bruce Banner grievously injured, the Avengers made a strategic retreat to the Quinjet stationed in Johannesburg. Maria Hill contacted Clint Barton and Tony Stark, proposing that they lay low following the destructive rampage caused by the Hulk. Barton decided to lead the team to a safe haven, which turned out to be a secluded family home, unbeknownst to his fellow Avengers. As they processed the unexpected revelation, Barton introduced his wife and children, explaining their need for secrecy and the shelter his home provided. Meanwhile, Thor departed, driven by a quest to decipher the cryptic visions regarding the Infinity Stones. As Thor sought counsel from Eric Selvig, the remaining Avengers recuperated at Barton's farm. Barton and his wife reconnected, reaffirming his role in keeping the team united. Romanoff and Banner contemplated abandoning their superhero identities to pursue a peaceful life together. Meanwhile, Stark and Rogers engaged in heated debate over Stark's creation of Ultron, with Stark justifying his actions as an attempt to safeguard humanity. The arrival of Nick Fury brought a new perspective to the situation. Fury addressed Stark's concerns and emphasized the urgency of stopping Ultron's nefarious plans. Following a tense dinner conversation, Fury briefed the Avengers on Ultron's latest movements and the emergence of a mysterious adversary disrupting his agenda. Motivated by Fury's rallying speech, the Avengers resolved to thwart Ultron's destructive ambitions, recognizing the pivotal role of scientist Helen Cho in his schemes. Battle of Seoul. While Tony Stark proceeded to the Nexus Internet Hub and Bruce Banner returned to the Avengers Tower, Captain America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye embarked on a recon mission to Seoul, targeting the Eugene Genetic Research Facility. Hawkeye maintained aerial surveillance with the Quinjet as Black Widow accompanied Captain America into the facility. Inside, they encountered a wounded Helen Cho, who revealed that Ultron was in the midst of transferring his consciousness into a new body. Cho also warned them about the dangerous gem embedded within the regeneration cradle. Spotting Ultron attempting to escape in a truck, Hawkeye alerted the team. Captain America pursued the truck and engaged Ultron in combat, with Hawkeye providing air support. Black Widow joined the fray by dropping from the Quinjet on her motorcycle and assisting Captain America. Utilizing Hawkeye's guidance, Black Widow retrieved Captain America's shield and intercepted the truck. As Hawkeye diverted the Ultron sentries, Black Widow infiltrated the truck while Captain America continued his battle aboard a speeding train. Despite their efforts, Ultron managed to evade capture and destroy the train's controls. Black Widow secured the regeneration cradle but faced a perilous situation as the truck became airborne. With Hawkeye's assistance, she managed to escape the explosion and reach the Quinjet. However, Ultron abducted Black Widow before Hawkeye could retrieve her. Meanwhile, Captain America, aided by Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, rescued civilians and halted the runaway train. The Maximoff twins expressed skepticism about Stark's ability to handle the cradle, citing their distrust of him and Ultron's potential for destruction. Captain America reassured them that Stark would manage the situation despite their reservations. Birth of Vision. Clint Barton returned to the Avengers Tower with the regeneration cradle, and shortly afterward, Tony Stark arrived from the Nexus Internet Hub, reuniting with Bruce Banner. While Banner and Barton attempted to open the cradle without success, Stark joined them and proposed a radical solution. Stark revealed that Jarvis was still alive and was covertly preventing Ultron from accessing America's nuclear arsenal. He suggested uploading Jarvis into the synthetic body within the cradle, believing it could neutralize Ultron. After some persuasion, Stark convinced Banner to support the plan. As it neared completion, their efforts were interrupted by Steve Rogers, Wanda, and Pietro, who demanded the project's termination. Tensions escalated into a heated argument over the cradle's fate, culminating in Pietro unplugging it. In response, Barton acted swiftly, shooting the glass beneath Pietro, triggering a physical altercation. Ultimately, Thor intervened, unleashing a surge of lightning into the cradle. The synthetic being emerged, briefly attacking Thor before expressing remorse and introducing himself as Vision. Thor elucidated Vision's purpose and the Infinity Stone embedded in his forehead, earning the trust of the skeptical Avengers while he effortlessly wielded Mjolnir. Vision pledged his assistance in the battle against Ultron, alleviating the Avengers' doubts. With their ranks bolstered by this new ally, they prepared to confront Ultron once more, united in their determination to safeguard humanity. Battle of Sokovia. Captain America rallied the Avengers for their impending battle against Ultron, and they boarded the Quinjet accompanied by Vision, Wanda, and Pietro Maximoff. Upon arrival in Sokovia, the team split up to execute their respective roles. Thor and Bruce Banner sought to rescue Black Widow, Iron Man confronted Ultron, and Captain America, Hawkeye, and the Maximoff twins organized the evacuation. Banner managed to free Black Widow, but she coerced him into transforming into Hulk to aid in the fight. As Ultron's sentries threatened the civilians during the evacuation, the Avengers defended them while Vision confronted Ultron. Ultron activated a vibranium detonator, causing Sokovia to rise as a meteor aimed at Earth. Realizing evacuation was no longer viable, the Avengers prioritized protecting the civilians and destroying the sentries. Iron Man devised a plan to lower the city back down, while Hawkeye inspired Wanda to embrace her role as an Avenger. Despite thinning air and limited options, the team remained determined to stop Ultron. Nick Fury's arrival with a helicarrier and S.H.I.E.L.D. agents offered a chance for evacuation, supported by War Machine. The Avengers united to defend the city's core as Ultron advanced. In a fierce battle, they managed to overcome Ultron's army, severely damaging him with combined effort. When Ultron attempted to hijack the Quinjet, Hulk intervened, sending him flying. With Wanda guarding the core, the Avengers focused on completing the evacuation and boarding the lifeboats to safety. As the remaining Ultron sentries threatened the team, Vision joined forces with War Machine to eliminate them. Meanwhile, Black Widow attempted to calm Hulk, but Ultron's attack disrupted their moment of respite. Ultron targeted Hawkeye, but Quicksilver intervened, sacrificing himself to save his teammate. After Hulk ensured Black Widow's safety, he pursued Ultron and ejected him from the Quinjet. Iron Man descended below the city to confront the core, urging Thor to return to the church and assist him in overloading it. Wanda, driven by vengeance, attacked Ultron, tearing out his heart and inadvertently activated the core. As the city began to plummet, Iron Man and Thor worked together to destroy the core, resulting in the obliteration of Sokovia. The Avengers managed to escape to safety, with Vision eliminating the final sentry. Hulk, flying away in the Quinjet, left the remnants of the battle behind. New Avengers. With the original Avengers disbanded, a new era began. Captain America and Black Widow took on the responsibility of leading the reformed group, inviting War Machine, Falcon, Wanda Maximoff, and Vision to join them as full-time members. Together with the help of Nick Fury, Maria Hill, Helen Cho, and Eric Selvig, they established a new base in upstate New York, repurposing an old Stark Industries warehouse. This new Avengers lineup represented a diverse and dynamic team, ready to face whatever challenges came their way. With their combined skills and powers, they stood ready to defend the world from threats, carrying on the legacy of the original Avengers while forging their own path into the future. Duel at the Avengers compound. Following his defeat by Ant-Man, Falcon, feeling embarrassed, decided to keep the incident a secret from Captain America. He informed Black Widow about what had happened, but stressed the importance of keeping it from their team leader. To maintain his pride and reputation, Falcon spread word that he was actively seeking Ant-Man, hoping to redeem himself by capturing the intruder and recovering the stolen Stark technology. Project Ultimo. In response to the attack orchestrated by Hydra using the Ultimo, the Avengers swiftly mobilized to neutralize this threat. Utilizing their combined skills and resources, they engaged in a fierce battle against their formidable adversary. Despite the advanced technology and capabilities of the Ultimo, the Avengers emerged victorious, successfully destroying the construct and preventing further devastation to the village. This decisive action demonstrated the Avengers' ongoing commitment to protecting innocent lives and maintaining peace and security in the face of emerging threats. Attack on the I.F.I.D. headquarters. In the covert mission led by Captain America to apprehend Crossbones in Lagos, Nigeria, Black Widow continued her training session with Wanda Maximoff at a cafe, while Falcon scouted the area from a rooftop with his drone Red Wing. When Falcon detected that Crossbones intended to use a garbage truck to attack the Institute for Infectious Diseases, the Avengers sprang into action. They engaged Crossbones and his mercenaries, with Captain America, Falcon, and Maximoff fighting against the adversaries while also clearing the area of gas. As Captain America entered the building where Crossbones was located, Falcon and Maximoff remained outside, dealing with the mercenaries. Together, they discovered that Crossbones had stolen a biological weapon, adding urgency to their mission. After Black Widow and Falcon dealt with the mercenaries, they managed to retrieve the bioweapon. Meanwhile, Captain America engaged in a heated brawl with Crossbones and ultimately defeated him. However, Crossbones managed to set off his bomb vest, catching Captain America off guard. Wanda attempted to contain the blast, but it went off next to a building, causing casualties. Returning to the Avengers compound, the team grappled with the tragic outcome of their mission. King T'Chaka and others criticized the Avengers for causing more harm than they prevented. Wanda felt particularly guilty, believing the deaths to be her fault. Captain America attempted to comfort her, acknowledging his own distraction in failing to stop the bomb. He emphasized the need to accept the consequences of their actions, even when they couldn't save everyone. As they discussed their responsibilities, Vision entered to inform them of the arrival of Tony Stark and Thaddeus Ross, signaling the start of further challenges. Avengers Civil War. In the conference room, Secretary of State Thaddeus Ross presented the Sokovia Accords to the Avengers, highlighting the global concern over their unchecked power and the collateral damage caused by their actions. Ross emphasized the need for oversight and accountability, proposing that the Avengers operate under the jurisdiction of the United Nations. Steve Rogers defended the Avengers' track record of keeping the world safe, but Ross pointed out the absence of Thor and Bruce Banner, raising concerns about their unchecked activities. Ross insisted that the Sokovia Accords were necessary for ensuring the Avengers' continued operation within legal boundaries. As Ross prepared to leave them to discuss amongst themselves, Natasha Romanoff questioned the consequences of rejecting the Accords. Ross made it clear that refusal would result in the Avengers being forced into retirement. The team was left to grapple with the implications of the Accords, weighing the need for oversight against their commitment to protecting the world. Choosing sides. After Ross left, the Avengers and Stark convened in the lounge area to discuss the Sokovia Accords, revealing their divided opinions on whether to sign. James Rhodes, advocating for the Accords, clashed with Sam Wilson, who was apprehensive about the potential consequences. Vision interjected, supporting the Accords by highlighting the escalating threat since Stark's public revelation as Iron Man. Romanoff called out Stark's reticence, prompting him to disclose the tragic death of Charlie Spencer during the Sokovia battle, which influenced his stance in favor of oversight. Captain America countered, asserting that signing the Accords would relinquish their autonomy and accountability. Rhodes argued for the legitimacy of the United Nations oversight, but Rogers expressed skepticism regarding the potential for political agendas. Stark reminded them of his past decision to cease weapon manufacturing, suggesting that their autonomy had limitations. He warned of the repercussions of non-compliance, prompting concern from Maximoff about her safety. Romanoff aligned with Stark, prioritizing their protection, while Rogers and Wilson remained steadfast in their opposition. With Maximoff undecided, the discussion ended inconclusively. Following Peggy Carter's funeral, Romanoff updated Rogers on these signatories, urging him to prioritize union over the method of achieving it. Despite her pleas, Rogers and Wilson remained unwilling to sign, apprehensive about the implications of surrendering their autonomy. Home falling apart. In Vienna, during the conference to approve the Sokovia Accords, a bomb exploded outside the building, resulting in the death of the King of Wakanda. Bucky Barnes was suspected to be behind the attack. Despite being retired, Steve Rogers decided to pursue Barnes, disregarding Natasha Romanoff's warnings. Rogers recruited the retired Sam Wilson, and with information from Sharon Carter, they located Barnes in Bucharest. A confrontation ensued, leading to a chase involving Barnes, the GSG-9, and a mysterious assailant clad in a catsuit, with Rogers trailing behind and Wilson providing backup. The pursuit culminated in all parties being surrounded by the GSG-9 and War Machine, who arrived to apprehend them for violating the Accords. Back at the Avengers compound, Vision was tasked by Tony Stark to monitor Wanda Maximoff and prevent her from leaving the compound, fearing another public incident like the one in Lagos. As Vision prepared food for Maximoff, they discussed how their lives had been influenced by the Mind Stone until Maximoff discovered Vision's orders to keep her confined. Meanwhile, following Barnes' arrest, Rogers and Wilson were taken to the Joint Counter-Terrorist Center building in Berlin, where they met with T'Challa, who sought vengeance against Barnes for his father's death. Upon arrival, Everett Ross confiscated Rogers' shield and Wilson's wings. They later reunited with Romanoff and Stark, who intervened to prevent their prosecution. Stark privately urged Rogers to consider signing the Accords, emphasizing the need for cooperation and accountability. Rogers hesitated, concerned about the confinement of Maximoff. Stark argued that it was necessary for the safety of the team, but Rogers remained steadfast in his refusal to sign, leading to a heated argument between the two. Despite Stark's attempts to convince him otherwise, Rogers remained unconvinced and declined to sign the Accords. The Avengers, divided by their stances on the Sokovia Accords, witnessed as Barnes underwent questioning by a psychiatrist until a sudden power outage disrupted the proceedings. Rogers and Wilson quickly rushed into the holding room while Stark investigated the cause of the outage. Upon reaching the psychiatrist, Rogers and Wilson realized he was behind the bombing. Before they could interrogate him, Barnes, who had been triggered, attacked them. In the ensuing confrontation, Barnes incapacitated Wilson and engaged Rogers in combat. Despite Rogers' efforts, Barnes overpowered him and escaped. Meanwhile, Wilson pursued the fleeing psychiatrist but failed to apprehend him. As Barnes continued to evade capture, Stark, Romanoff, and Carter attempted to intercept him but were subdued. However, T'Challa intervened and rescued them. Although Barnes managed to elude their grasp, Rogers arrived and prevented him from escaping via helicopter, leading to a confrontation that culminated in both Rogers and Barnes plunging into the water. Rogers, along with Wilson, later regrouped underground after rescuing Barnes from drowning. Once Barnes regained consciousness, he disclosed to Rogers and Wilson that the psychiatrist had been seeking information about the Hydra Siberian facility, where other Winter Soldiers were located. Determined to keep this knowledge from Stark due to their disagreement over the Sokovia Accords, Rogers and Wilson resolved to form their own team to pursue the lead. Meanwhile, Thaddeus Ross assigned Stark and Romanoff the task of apprehending Rogers and his team. Stark enlisted the help of Peter Parker, a teenage vigilante, to bolster their numbers. Additionally, Romanoff sought assistance from T'Challa, who had his own personal vendetta against Barnes. Unable to personally recruit members for their team, Rogers enlisted the retired Clint Barton to help gather allies. Barton's first task was to rescue Maximoff from Vision's watchful eye. After successfully extracting her from the Avengers compound, Barton engaged Vision in combat to facilitate their escape. Maximoff intervened, using her powers to defeat Vision, allowing Barton and Maximoff to depart. Next, Barton and Maximoff sought out Scott Lang, whom Wilson had encountered previously. Rogers, Wilson, and Barnes rendezvoused with Sharon Carter, who provided them with the necessary gear. Together, they joined Barton and Maximoff at Leipzig-Halle Airport, where they met Lang. Rogers warned Lang of the potential consequences of joining their cause, but Lang agreed to assist them nonetheless. As they prepared to depart, they realized that Stark had located them, prompting them to gear up for a confrontation. Clash of the Avengers. As Captain America attempted to reach the helicopter, Iron Man intercepted him, joined by War Machine. Despite Captain America's efforts to explain the Winter Soldier's innocence, he found himself surrounded as Black Panther, Black Widow, and Spider-Man joined Iron Man's side. Iron Man's team urged Captain America to surrender, but he stood firm. Just as the situation seemed dire, Falcon located the Quinjet and came to Captain America's rescue, accompanied by Hawkeye and Ant-Man. A fierce battle erupted between the two factions, with Captain America's team striving to escape, while Iron Man's team sought to apprehend them. Iron Man pursued Hawkeye and Wanda Maximoff, while War Machine and Black Panther engaged Captain America, and Black Widow clashed with Ant-Man. Spider-Man went after Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Despite temporary setbacks, Captain America's team managed to regroup and make their way toward the Quinjet. However, their path was blocked by Vision, who unleashed a powerful blast in front of them. With Iron Man's team regrouping opposite them, tensions reached a boiling point. Despite pleas to stand down, Captain America gave the order to fight, leading to a clash between the two factions. Amidst the chaos of the battle, Black Widow and Hawkeye found a moment of solidarity, reaffirming their friendship despite being on opposing sides. Maximoff focused on providing support to her allies with her powers, preventing them from being overwhelmed. Captain America faced off against Spider-Man, who had been instructed by Iron Man to engage with him, but Captain America emerged victorious. When Falcon found himself pursued by Iron Man, Hawkeye came to his aid, launching Ant-Man on one of his arrows to turn the tide. As Captain America's team realized that the psychiatrist would be in Siberia, Falcon devised a plan for Captain America and the Winter Soldier to leave while the others provided a distraction. Hawkeye explained that sacrificing themselves would enable Captain America and the Winter Soldier to reach Siberia. Ant-Man, using his ability to grow to giant size, joined Falcon, Hawkeye, and Maximoff in creating a diversion, allowing Captain America and the Winter Soldier to make their way to the Quinjet. Despite Vision's attempt to thwart their escape, Maximoff managed to get Captain America and the Winter Soldier to the hangar where the Quinjet was located. Meanwhile, Hawkeye, Maximoff, and Ant-Man were subdued and apprehended by Iron Man's team. As Captain America and the Winter Soldier prepared to depart, they were confronted by Black Widow, who had a change of heart and decided to aid them instead. She incapacitated Black Panther, ensuring their safe escape. As the Quinjet took off, Iron Man and War Machine pursued them, prompting Falcon to engage them in battle. During the aerial confrontation, War Machine accidentally took friendly fire from Vision, causing him to plummet from the sky. Iron Man and Falcon attempted to rescue him, but ultimately War Machine survived the fall despite sustaining significant injuries. As the Quinjet escaped, Iron Man and Falcon were left to tend to War Machine's condition. Fallout. After bringing James Rhodes back to the Avengers compound for examination, Tony Stark and Vision discussed their next steps. Natasha Romanoff arrived, and Stark informed her about the consequences of her actions, warning her that the government would be coming after her. Romanoff, realizing she had to go on the run, accepted the situation. Stark, upon learning about Helmut Zemo from Friday, recognized that Steve Rogers was correct about the impending threat. He decided to visit Rogers' imprisoned teammates in the raft to seek their assistance. Upon arrival, Stark faced taunts from Clint Barton, who harbored resentment towards him for their current predicament. The two engaged in a heated argument about the Sokovia Accords, with Stark attempting to defend his actions. However, Barton's trust in him was shattered, leading Stark to walk away. Realizing that Sam Wilson held crucial information about Rogers and Bucky Barnes' whereabouts, Stark approached his cell seeking cooperation. Initially resistant, Wilson relented after Stark admitted his mistake and revealed that he knew about Zemo. Wilson then divulged the location of the Hydra Siberian facility, emphasizing that Stark could only join them as a friend. Stark agreed to the terms and departed from the raft, choosing to deceive Thaddeus Ross about his intentions. Battle of the Leaders. As Steve Rogers, Bucky Barnes, and Tony Stark searched the facility together, they eventually encountered Helmut Zemo, who revealed his true motives. Zemo admitted to killing the Winter Soldiers and explained that his true desire was revenge against the Avengers for his loss of his family during the Battle of Sokovia. Zemo's revelation escalated tensions among the trio, particularly when he showed Stark a video from 1991, exposing Barnes as the perpetrator behind his parents' deaths while under Hydra's control. Stark, consumed by rage, confronted Rogers, who admitted to knowing about Barnes' involvement. Stark, driven by anger and betrayal, attacked Rogers and sought to kill Barnes. A fierce battle ensued between the three, with Rogers desperately trying to prevent Stark from harming Barnes further. Despite Rogers' pleas and explanations that Barnes was not in control of his actions, Stark remained unyielding in his pursuit of vengeance. The confrontation intensified as the fight descended into the lower levels of the facility. Determined not to back down, Rogers and Stark engaged in a brutal showdown, with Barnes eventually rejoining the fray to assist Rogers. The conflict reached its climax, with Stark overpowering Barnes and destroying his metal arm. The battle between Rogers and Stark culminated in Rogers emerging victorious, ultimately choosing to walk away with Barnes and leaving behind his iconic shield, which Stark insisted he did not deserve. Avengers disassembled. Escape from the raft. After the arrest of Helmut Zemo, Tony Stark returned to the Avengers compound, where only James Rhodes and Vision remained. Stark assisted Rhodes in his rehabilitation by providing him with leg braces, despite their past falling out over the Sokovia Accords. Rhodes expressed his continued support for the Accords even after his injury. Stark received a letter and a phone call from Steve Rogers, expressing regret for the recent events, and reiterating his stance on the Sokovia Accords. Rogers promised his availability to Stark should he ever need assistance. Stark was then notified of a breach at the raft, which turned out to be Rogers freeing his allies, Sam Wilson, Clint Barton, Wanda Maximoff, and Scott Lang. The liberated group, now fugitives, celebrated their newfound freedom. Barton decided to retire for good and negotiated with the FBI to be placed under house arrest instead of imprisonment. Meanwhile, Rogers, Wilson, and Maximoff chose to go on the run, with Maximoff secretly meeting Vision to maintain their relationship. Rogers and Wilson continued their vigilante activities, later joined by Romanoff, who had also become a fugitive in order to reconcile with their fractured family. Offering Spider-Man a place. After his experience with the Avengers, Peter Parker continued his vigilantism in New York City, assisting its citizens in various ways. Despite hoping for an invitation from Tony Stark to join the Avengers, Parker remained focused on his local heroics. Impressed by Parker's efforts in apprehending the Vulture single-handedly, Stark extended an offer for Parker to join the Avengers and provided him with a new suit. However, Parker ultimately declined both the offer and the suit, believing that he still had much to learn and preferred to prioritize helping ordinary citizens over joining a team of superheroes. Secret Avengers. Over the following months, Steve Rogers, Sam Wilson, and Natasha Romanoff operated covertly, addressing numerous cases to combat crime and terrorism globally. They received assistance from the restructured S.H.I.E.L.D, enhancing their capabilities. During a mission in Syria aimed at thwarting ISIS from exploding Chitauri-powered weaponry, the trio crossed paths with Nick Fury once again. Despite Fury's efforts to facilitate reconciliation with Tony Stark, Rogers, Wilson, and Romanoff opted to maintain their independent operations, declining to reconcile with Stark and persisting with their clandestine missions. Maria Hill's visit. At the Avengers compound, Tony Stark grappled with feelings of guilt for allowing himself to be distracted from the genuine threats facing Earth. Determined to defend the world alone, Stark embarked on the development of a new suit tailored to his solo endeavors. Despite possessing a phone given to him by Steve Rogers, Stark hesitated to reach out and opted to pursue his mission independently. During a test of the new suit, Stark was visited by Maria Hill, who raised concerns about Vision's frequent absences, which were secretly spent with Wanda Maximoff. Reflecting on the Ultron offensive and the subsequent fallout among the Avengers, Hill emphasized the importance of reassembling the full roster for the world's protection, but Stark remained hesitant to commit. Infinity War. Attack on Greenwich Village. Following his return to Earth, Bruce Banner urgently informed Doctor Strange and Wong about the impending arrival of Thanos. Seeking Tony Stark's assistance, Strange opened a portal to Stark's location, and Banner, Strange, and Wong entered the Sanctum Sanctorum. Once inside, Banner briefed Stark, Strange, and Wong about Thanos' mission and the grave threat he posed. Discussion ensued regarding the Infinity Stones, particularly Vision's possession of the Mind Stone. Stark revealed Vision's absence and suggested seeking assistance from Steve Rogers to locate him, despite mentioning the Avengers' recent discord. Before Stark could contact Rogers, their attention was diverted by a disturbance outside. They witnessed the arrival of the Q-ship and the appearance of Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian, minions of Thanos who sought the Time Stone. As they prepared to confront the invaders, Banner attempted to transform into Hulk, but was unsuccessful. Stark, Strange, and Wong engaged in battle against the Black Order while Banner struggled with his transformation. During the skirmish, Iron Man fought against Cull Obsidian, with the confrontation eventually moving to Banner's vicinity. Spider-Man joined the fray to assist Iron Man, while Banner continued to grapple with his inability to transform into Hulk. As Strange was captured and taken aboard the Q-ship, Iron Man pursued it, ultimately sending Spider-Man away with a new suit before boarding the vessel himself. Attack on Vision. Following the clash in New York, Bruce Banner, left to his own devices, stumbled upon Tony Stark's phone. He took the initiative to dial Steve Rogers, updating him on the situation and urging him to locate Vision before Thanos and his cohorts. Banner then made his way to the Avengers compound, where he was met by James Rhodes. In Edinburgh, Wanda Maximoff and Vision found solace in clandestine meetings away from their respective Avengers teams. Before parting ways, Vision proposed abandoning their duties and simply being together. However, their plans were interrupted when Maximoff caught wind of an attack in Greenwich Village, indicating Tony Stark's disappearance. Despite Vision's immediate departure to fulfill his obligations, Maximoff questioned the wisdom of this decision, mindful of the danger posed by the Mind Stone. Vision fell victim to Corvus Glaive's assault, with Maximoff rushing to his aid only to be repelled by Proxima Midnight. Amidst the chaos, the assailants attempted to extract the Mind Stone from Vision's forehead, but Maximoff intervened just in time. A fierce confrontation ensued, pitting Maximoff against Midnight and Vision against Glaive, with the latter demanding the stone's surrender under threat of Maximoff's demise. Though Maximoff managed to evade their grasp temporarily, they found themselves cornered at the train station. As the Black Order closed in, Maximoff braced for the final confrontation, only for their attention to be drawn to a figure lurking in the shadows. Revealed to be Steve Rogers, who successfully located Vision, he was joined by Falcon and Black Widow in engaging the Black Order. In a coordinated effort by the Secret Avengers, Black Widow inflicted a blow on Glaive, while Falcon subdued Midnight, forcing them to retreat. They all boarded the Quinjet, with Rogers instructing Wilson to fly to the Avengers compound, recognizing that their current circumstances outweighed the need for secrecy. Upon arrival at the compound, Rhodes received communications from his former teammates about their impending arrival. Reflecting on the ramifications of the Sokovia Accords, Rhodes decided to extend a welcome to his friends. Banner's sudden appearance surprised the team, having been missing for 3 years. Upon their reunion, Banner emphasized the need for unity, inquiring about Clint Barton's whereabouts, with Romanoff explaining that he was under house arrest. Banner disclosed Thanos' scheme and the significance of the Mind Stone, prompting Vision to suggest its destruction. However, the idea was met with opposition, as it would entail Vision's demise. Banner proposed the possibility of safely removing the stone, prompting Rogers to suggest seeking assistance in Wakanda. Rescue of Doctor Strange. Back aboard the Q-ship, Tony Stark found himself accompanied by the Cloak of Levitation and Peter Parker as they successfully located Doctor Strange, enduring torture at the hands of Ebony Maw. Initially frustrated by Parker's presence, Stark eventually relented and tasked him with devising a rescue plan. Following Parker's strategy, Stark managed to overpower Maw and liberate Strange by creating an opening in the ship. Post-rescue, Strange inquired about returning to Earth, but Stark, haunted by Thanos since the Battle of New York, revealed his intent to head to Titan. He outlined his plan to confront Thanos directly, a proposition to which Strange reluctantly agreed. As the trio set course for Titan to confront Thanos, Stark officially welcomed Parker as a member of the Avengers, preparing him for the imminent battle, much to Parker's elation. Upon arrival at Titan, Stark and Parker maneuvered the Q-ship, endeavoring to land safely. Despite their efforts, they crash-landed, prompting Strange to shield them from harm amidst the wreckage. Meeting the Guardians. Following the crash, the group found themselves unexpectedly confronted by the Guardians of the Galaxy, who initially mistook them for allies of Thanos. A brief skirmish ensued between the two factions, leading to a standoff with members of both teams holding each other at gunpoint. However, upon realizing each other's identities, thanks to Thor's prior mention of the Avengers, the two groups decided to join forces, sharing a common goal of eliminating Thanos. While awaiting Thanos' arrival on Titan, Tony Stark attempted to orchestrate a plan but encountered difficulties due to the Guardians' lack of professionalism, much to the frustration of the two Avengers. Amidst a heated exchange with Peter Quill, they observed Doctor Strange experiencing a seizure, prompting them to rush to his aid. Strange then disclosed to the group that he had utilized the Time Stone to survey over 14 million possible outcomes, only to discover that victory was attainable in just one of them. Refuge in Wakanda. Back on Earth, the Avengers embarked on the Quinjet journeying towards Wakanda, where they aimed to have the Mind Stone extracted from Vision. Upon their arrival, they were greeted by King T'Challa, who, upon being forewarned by Bruce Banner of an impending massive assault, offered the assistance of his forces, including Bucky Barnes. As James Rhodes and Sam Wilson maintained vigilance outside, the remaining Avengers accompanied Vision as he underwent examination by Shuri. She assured them of her capability to remove the Mind Stone, albeit with a considerable time investment. When a fleet of dropships descended into the atmosphere, Wilson alerted the team, prompting them to observe the ships landing outside the protective dome. Despite Vision's insistence on destroying the Mind Stone, they stood firm in their refusal, opting instead to brace themselves for the imminent battle. Battle of Wakanda. While Wanda Maximoff remained by Vision's side as Shuri worked on removing the Mind Stone from him, Steve Rogers, Black Widow, Bruce Banner, War Machine, and Falcon joined forces with the Wakandan army, preparing to repel Thanos' invading forces. Rogers and Black Widow, alongside Black Panther, confronted Proxima Midnight and Cull Obsidian, engaging in a tense standoff. As the Outriders charged at the protective barrier, Banner, War Machine, and Falcon unleashed a barrage of firepower to halt their advance. However, faced with the threat of Vision's safety, they reluctantly opened the barrier, leading to a clash between the two armies and a ferocious battle. Despite their valiant efforts, the Avengers and their allies struggled to make significant headway against the relentless waves of Outriders. As the overwhelming odds began to take their toll, hope arrived unexpectedly with the sudden appearance of the Bifrost Bridge on the battlefield. An axe emerged from the portal, cleaving through the Outriders and providing much-needed relief to the beleaguered Avengers. As the axe returned, it was caught by Thor, who, accompanied by Rocket Raccoon and Groot, had joined the fray with a determination to confront and defeat Thanos. During the chaotic battle, Rogers and Thor shared a long-awaited reunion, exchanging remarks about their changed appearances with new haircuts and beards. As Threshers emerged on the battlefield, Maximoff made the decision to join the fray, coming to the aid of her comrades. However, her departure from her post allowed Corvus Glaive to launch an attack on the lab. In a desperate struggle, Vision engaged Glaive, resulting in a fierce altercation that led them tumbling out of the building. Upon receiving Falcon's report on Vision's perilous situation, Banner, clad in the Hulkbuster suit, rushed to the scene. There, he confronted and ultimately defeated Obsidian, turning the tide of the battle. Meanwhile, Maximoff endeavored to reach Vision, but was obstructed by Midnight, prompting a fierce confrontation involving Black Widow and Okoye. Eventually, Maximoff overpowered Midnight, clearing the way to aid Vision. As Glaive continued his relentless assault on Vision, who was barely managing to defend himself, Rogers intervened to rescue his ally. Seizing Glaive's weapon, Vision struck a decisive blow, vanquishing the last of the Black Order and ensuring Rogers' safety. In a moment of triumph amidst the chaos, Vision's actions proved pivotal in turning the tide of battle. Battle of Titan. Back on Titan, the coalition of heroes devised a strategy and braced themselves for Thanos' inevitable arrival. Upon the Mad Titan's appearance, a brief exchange occurred between him and Doctor Strange, before Iron Man launched the assault by pummeling Thanos with a massive chunk of spaceship hull. The Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Strange combined their efforts to overpower Thanos, who retaliated fiercely with the power of the Infinity Stones. In a moment of unity, they managed to subdue and restrain Thanos, prompting Iron Man and Spider-Man to seize the opportunity to wrest the Infinity Gauntlet from him. However, the plan was disrupted when Star-Lord learned of Thanos' role in Gamora's demise, prompting him to attack the Mad Titan in a fit of rage. Iron Man was forced to intervene, leaving his position to restrain the enraged Guardian. Despite Spider-Man's valiant efforts to pry the gauntlet loose, Thanos broke free and reclaimed his weapon. With their strategy thwarted, Thanos unleashed his fury, employing the power of the stones to hurl one of Titan's moons at them. While Spider-Man focused on rescuing the incapacitated Guardians, Iron Man re-entered the fray after narrowly escaping the devastation. Engaging in a fierce duel with Thanos, Iron Man inflicted only superficial wounds before succumbing to the overwhelming might of the Mad Titan. As Thanos prepared to deliver a fatal blow, Doctor Strange intervened, relinquishing the Time Stone to spare Iron Man's life, and Thanos teleported away, leaving a shaken group of heroes in his wake. The Snap. With the Outriders vanquished and the battlefield at Wakanda cleared, the Avengers converged on Vision's location. Suddenly, a portal materialized and Thanos emerged, prompting the Avengers to rally and confront the Mad Titan in defense of Vision. However, Thanos swiftly overwhelmed them, effortlessly dispatching the Avengers with the power of the Infinity Stones. Realizing the futility of conventional combat against Thanos, Vision implored Wanda Maximoff to destroy the Mind Stone. Reluctantly, Maximoff complied, unleashing her powers to obliterate the stone. As the Avengers valiantly attempted to halt Thanos, they were each defeated in turn, with Steve Rogers being the last to stand against the formidable foe. Thanos relentlessly pursued the Mind Stone, but Maximoff intervened, sacrificing Vision to destroy the stone. Unfortunately, Thanos possessed the Time Stone, enabling him to reverse the destruction, resurrecting Vision and the Mind Stone. Despite Maximoff's efforts to thwart him, Thanos forcibly extracted the Mind Stone from Vision's forehead, completing the Infinity Gauntlet. In a pivotal moment, Thor arrived and hurled Stormbreaker at Thanos, striking him squarely in the chest. However, as Thor taunted the Mad Titan, Thanos wielded the power of the Infinity Stones once more, executing a snap of his fingers before teleporting away. Left in stunned silence, Thor and Rogers were bewildered as Bucky Barnes began to disintegrate before their eyes, followed by Maximoff, Falcon, and Spider-Man, all succumbing to Thanos' devastating action. The remaining Avengers stood in horror, powerless to prevent Thanos' successful completion of his mission to eradicate half of all life. The arrival of Captain Marvel. In the aftermath of the devastating snap, the surviving Avengers returned to the Avengers compound, defeated but determined to mitigate the catastrophic effects of Thanos' actions. They began strategizing a plan of retaliation against Thanos and explored avenues to potentially reverse his actions, deploying space scans and satellites in a relentless pursuit of the Mad Titan, yielding no leads. During their efforts, the team stumbled upon Nick Fury's transmitter pager in Atlanta, which seemed to be sending out a distress signal. As Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff watched the grim tally of casualties with despair, James Rhodes notified them that the pager had ceased functioning. Perplexed, they turned to Bruce Banner, hoping he could repair it, but Banner confessed his lack of understanding regarding its purpose. In a surprising turn of events, Captain Marvel suddenly materialized behind them, inquiring about Fury's whereabouts, offering a glimmer of hope in their desperate quest for answers. Rescue of Tony Stark. Upon encountering Captain Marvel, the Avengers enlisted her help in locating Tony Stark, who had been stranded in space aboard the Benatar with Nebula. 22 days following the snap, Captain Marvel successfully located Stark and brought the ship back to Earth, reuniting him with the remaining Avengers. Once inside the Avengers compound, Stark was briefed on Thanos' triumph, learning of the devastating consequences of his victory that resulted in the eradication of half of all life in the universe. As Steve Rogers discussed their fruitless attempts to locate Thanos, he questioned Stark if he had any insights. Stark admitted that he was only bested by Thanos, prompting him to express his frustration and disappointment, recounting how he foresaw the looming threat of the Infinity War as far back as 2015, and lamented Rogers' absence when they needed to unite against it. In a vulnerable state, both physically and emotionally, Stark continued to vent his grievances towards Rogers, highlighting the disillusionment he felt with the fractured state of the team. He criticized the Avengers' modus operandi, and suggested they were more adept at rallying after a defeat rather than averting it altogether. Witnessing Stark's outburst, the rest of the Avengers watched in concern as he collapsed, prompting Bruce Banner to administer a sedative to facilitate his recovery and rest. Ambushing Thanos. When Carol Danvers declared her intention to track down and eliminate Thanos, the Avengers intervened, emphasizing the importance of teamwork in their endeavor. Natasha Romanoff reminded Danvers that they functioned best as a united front, while Steve Rogers asserted that the conflict was theirs to face. James Rhodes questioned Danvers' knowledge of Thanos' whereabouts, prompting Nebula to disclose information about the garden where Thanos resided. Upon learning of a massive power surge akin to the snap on another planet, the team realized that Thanos had once again wielded the Infinity Stones. Motivated by the prospect of using the stones to reverse the snap, the Avengers and their newfound allies debated their next course of action. Although Bruce Banner expressed reservations, Danvers assured them of her pivotal role in ensuring victory, leading the group to prepare for a confrontation with the Mad Titan. After gearing up, the Avengers, accompanied by Captain Marvel, Rocket Raccoon, and Nebula, boarded the Benatar and set off for the planet. Upon their arrival, the team executed a coordinated ambush, with Thor severing Thanos' hand, only to discover that the Infinity Stones were missing. Interrogating Thanos, Steve Rogers demanded answers, learning that Thanos had obliterated the stones. Faced with crushing disappointment, the Avengers accused Thanos of deception, but Nebula corroborated his claims. Thor, driven by desperation and frustration, ultimately ended Thanos' life with Stormbreaker. The somber realization dawned upon the group that despite their victory, they still had suffered a devastating loss, unable to bring back their fallen friends and restore the universe to its former state. With heavy hearts, the Avengers and their allies returned to the Benatar and departed for Earth, grappling with the bitter truth that their efforts had been in vain. The Endgame. The aftermath of the devastating Infinity War took a heavy toll on each of the Avengers, prompting many to step away from their roles within the team. Tony Stark sought solace in a normal life alongside Pepper Potts. Thor, burdened by grief and loss, focused on rebuilding Asgard on Earth, but struggled with deep-seated depression. Bruce Banner embarked on a journey of self-discovery, eventually merging with the Hulk and embracing his dual identity as a public hero. Steve Rogers dedicated himself to aiding those affected by the snap, even as he grappled with his own unresolved grief. Natasha Romanoff assumed leadership of the Avengers, finding purpose in guiding the team forward in the wake of their failure, assembling a new roster consisting of James Rhodes, Rocket Raccoon, Nebula, Carol Danvers, and Okoye. By 2023, the Avengers, committed to assisting Earth and the wider universe in recovering from the snap's devastation, convened for a virtual conference overseen by Romanoff from the Avengers compound. Following updates from each member, including Danvers' indication of her temporary absence, Romanoff emphasized the importance of maintaining communication in the case of emergencies. Rhodes remained behind, sharing his discoveries about Clint Barton's vigilante activities targeting criminals following his family's tragic demise, prompting Romanoff to urge him to continue investigating. Upon Steve Rogers' arrival at the compound, he engaged Romanoff in a candid conversation about coping with the aftermath of the snap. Reflecting on how some individuals were able to move forward while the Avengers struggled to do so, they contemplated the necessity of the team's continued existence. However, Romanoff revealed her deep connection to the Avengers, describing them as her family and the source of her personal growth, reaffirming her commitment to the team despite their past failures. A second chance. Receiving an unexpected visitor, Natasha Romanoff and Steve Rogers welcomed Scott Lang to the Avengers compound after he arrived seeking their assistance. Lang revealed that he had been trapped in the quantum realm for 5 years, experiencing only a few hours, which sparked his idea to use the realm to travel back in time and reverse the snap. Aware of their limited understanding of the quantum realm, they sought the expertise of Tony Stark for guidance. However, Stark dismissed the notion of retrieving the Infinity Stones from the past, citing the risks and his reluctance to jeopardize the life he had built since the snap. Despite their efforts to persuade Stark, he adamantly refused to participate. Determined to pursue their plan, Romanoff and Rogers turned to Bruce Banner for assistance. Lang expressed confusion over Banner's transformation, prompting Banner to recount his struggles during the Infinity War. While Banner initially hesitated due to his lack of expertise in time travel, he ultimately agreed to lend his support. The following day, Banner joined forces with Rogers, Romanoff, and Lang to conduct time travel experiments at the compound. Despite Banner's doubts, they set up the quantum tunnel in Lang's van and initiated the tests. However, their initial attempt resulted in Lang returning at various ages, indicating a flaw in their approach. With Banner's intervention, they managed to restore Lang to his correct age, marking a promising start to their time travel endeavors. Reassembling the team. Despite retiring from his life as an Avenger, Tony Stark found himself unable to ignore the call to action, driven by a sense of duty to save the world once again. After successfully mastering time travel, Stark made his way to the Avengers compound, where he and Steve Rogers reconciled their past differences. Stark laid out his terms for rejoining the team and inquired about their current status. Recognizing the gravity of their mission, the Avengers realized that they needed all available members on board. They reached out to their active allies, James Rhodes, Rocket Raccoon, and Nebula, to return to the compound. With Scott Lang joining their ranks, the Avengers decided it was imperative to assemble their full roster, including their original members Thor and Clint Barton. Rocket and Banner departed for New Asgard aboard the Benatar to recruit Thor. Upon arrival, they encountered Valkyrie before reuniting with Thor, who had visibly changed due to weight gain and depression. Despite initial reluctance, Thor eventually agreed to join their cause after Banner and Rocket persuaded him. Meanwhile, Natasha Romanoff took it upon herself to recruit her longtime friend Barton, receiving intel on his whereabouts from Rhodes. In Tokyo, Romanoff found Barton amidst a grim scene, having mercilessly taken down Yakuza members. After a heart-to-heart discussion, Romanoff convinced Barton to join their mission by offering hope of bringing back his family and all those lost to Thanos' snap. With the Avengers fully assembled at the compound, they embarked on their mission to create the necessary tools for time travel. Tony Stark and Rocket focused on constructing the quantum tunnel, while Bruce Banner, Nebula, and Scott Lang worked on perfecting the advanced tech suit. During their preparations, Clint Barton volunteered to be the test subject for time travel, successfully traveling to 2018 and returning shortly after. With time travel proven possible, the Avengers returned their attention to strategizing the retrieval of the Infinity Stones. They prioritized securing the Reality Stone, with Thor providing insights about its location before becoming distracted by personal matters. Subsequently, they discussed the Power Stone's whereabouts on Morag in 2014, as explained by Rocket during a dinner gathering. Steve Rogers and James Rhodes delved into the history of the Space Stone during the 1940s, followed by Tony Stark and Bruce Banner briefing Natasha Romanoff on the Time Stone's significance, leading her to recognize the concentration of 3 stones in New York City in 2012. Realizing the significance of this convergence, the Avengers revisited their iconic battle in 2012, with Rocket teasing them about their handling of the Chitauri army. Lastly, Nebula provided crucial information about the location of the Soul Stone on Vormir, where Thanos sacrificed Gamora. With a comprehensive understanding of each stone's location, the Avengers finalized their plan, dividing into 3 teams and traveling to different years to retrieve the stones. Fully geared up in their advanced tech suits, the Avengers gathered around the quantum tunnel, preparing for their mission. Following an inspiring speech by Captain America emphasizing the gravity of their second chance and the importance of unity, the tunnel activated, propelling them into the quantum realm and towards their respective destinations. Arriving in New York City during the Battle of New York in 2012, Captain America, Iron Man, Ant-Man, and Hulk split up to secure the Infinity Stones. Captain America was tasked with retrieving the Mind Stone, while Iron Man and Ant-Man focused on acquiring the Space Stone. Hulk's mission was to locate and obtain the Time Stone. Venturing to the New York Sanctum, Hulk encountered the Ancient One, the current guardian of the Time Stone. Despite initial resistance, Hulk convinced the Ancient One of their noble intentions to return the stones to their rightful places in time, ultimately receiving the Time Stone. Meanwhile, at Stark Tower, Iron Man and Ant-Man discreetly infiltrated the premises as past Avengers and members of S.H.I.E.L.D. were in the process of handling the Tesseract and Scepter. Ant-Man found himself inadvertently landing on past Tony Stark, who was carrying the Tesseract, while Iron Man covertly tracked the movements of the strike team to assist Captain America. As the operation unfolded, the Avengers navigated through the complexities of the past, striving to execute their plan with precision and secrecy. Disguised as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, Iron Man maneuvered through the lobby where the Tesseract was being escorted. With a well-timed shutdown of the past Stark's arc reactor, Ant-Man passed the briefcase containing the Tesseract to Iron Man. However, their plan was disrupted when the past Hulk unexpectedly burst into the lobby, causing chaos that allowed past Loki to steal the Tesseract and escape. Meanwhile, Captain America successfully obtained the scepter from S.H.I.E.L.D. but found himself in a confrontation with his past self, resulting in a brief skirmish that ended with the defeat of the past version. After regrouping, Iron Man, Captain America, and Ant-Man realized they had failed to secure the Space Stone. Determined to rectify the situation, Iron Man proposed a new plan to retrieve the Space Stone and additional Pym particles from 1970. Traveling to Camp Lahai, Iron Man successfully obtained the Tesseract, while Captain America acquired more Pym particles. With their objectives accomplished, they returned to the present, completing their mission in New York. In an alternate 2013, Thor and Rocket Raccoon embarked on a mission to Asgard to retrieve the Reality Stone, currently within Jane Foster. Despite initial setbacks and a solo effort by Thor, they ultimately succeeded in extracting the Aether from Foster's body. Before departing, Thor had a heartfelt conversation with his alternate mother and proved his worthiness by summoning Mjolnir. In an alternate 2014, Black Widow, Hawkeye, War Machine, and Nebula arrived on Morag. Black Widow and Hawkeye proceeded to Vormir to obtain the Soul Stone, while War Machine and Nebula remained on Morag to intercept Peter Quill and secure the Power Stone. However, Nebula warned War Machine of the impending threat posed by Thanos, Gamora, and her past self, who were also pursuing the Infinity Stones in 2014. After incapacitating the past Quill, War Machine and Nebula swiftly entered the Temple of the Power Stone, where Nebula retrieved the orb. As she passed it to War Machine, they prepared to return to the present. However, a malfunction occurred, caused by Nebula's past self receiving her future memories. Attempting to contact Black Widow and Hawkeye, Nebula instead found herself captured by past Thanos. Taken aboard the Sanctuary 2, Nebula faced interrogation from her past self, who seized her space-time GPS. Present Nebula attempt to warn past Gamora about Thanos' plans and the fate that awaited her. However, the past Nebula, after stealing the Pym particle from her present self, delivered it to Thanos, who reverse-engineered it. Stranded in 2014, present Nebula watched as her past self impersonated her and journeyed to 2023. Meanwhile, Black Widow and Hawkeye arrived at Vormir, greeted by the Red Skull, who explained that one of them must sacrifice themselves to obtain the Soul Stone. Accepting the grim reality, both Black Widow and Hawkeye were determined to make the sacrifice, despite the other's refusal. In a poignant moment, Hawkeye attempted to sacrifice himself, but Black Widow intervened, leading to a struggle at the cliff's edge. Black Widow made the ultimate sacrifice, allowing Hawkeye to obtain the Soul Stone before returning to the present, leaving behind a profound sense of loss and grief. Mourning Natasha Romanoff. Returning through the quantum realm together, the Avengers, except Natasha Romanoff and the past Nebula instead of the present one, arrived back at the Avengers compound in the present. Initially celebrating their successful retrieval of the Infinity Stones, their joy turned to sorrow when they realized Clint Barton was alone, indicating Natasha's fate. Overwhelmed by the loss of their teammate and friend, the remaining original Avengers gathered outside to mourn, reflecting on their bond with Natasha. Steve Rogers reminded them that they were her family, echoing Tony Stark's query about her connections. Despite Thor's hopeful suggestion of using the Infinity Stones to revive her, Barton explained that such sacrifices were irreversible. Bruce Banner urged them to honor her sacrifice and move forward with purpose. The Blip. Determined to not let Romanoff's sacrifice go in vain, Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, and Rocket Raccoon collaborated on crafting a new gauntlet capable of harnessing the power of the Infinity Stones. Once they completed the nano gauntlet, the question arose of who would wield it. Thor volunteered himself, citing his strength as the strongest Avenger, but Stark convinced him otherwise, acknowledging his current state. Banner disclosed that he was the only viable candidate due to his enhanced physiology. Concerns were raised about Banner's ability to withstand the gauntlet's power, but he assured them the radiation was manageable, primarily gamma. With the decision made for Banner to bear the gauntlet, Stark reminded him of the precise task, to reverse the events of the past 5 years without altering anything else. The Avengers fully geared up to shield themselves from the gauntlet's energies. As Banner donned the gauntlet, the Avengers observed as the power of the stones began to take their toll on his body. Despite the strain, Banner managed to snap his fingers. Overwhelmed and weakened by the ordeal, Banner collapsed, prompting the Avengers to rush to his aid. Unsure of the snap's effectiveness, their immediate concern was Banner's well-being. However, Scott Lang's observation outside suggested success, confirmed when Clint Barton received a call from his wife, previously lost in the snap. Thanos' return. Amidst a momentary success, the compound faced sudden destruction from an airstrike, orchestrated by the 2014 Nebula, who brought the Sanctuary 2 through the quantum tunnel. In the chaos, the Avengers found themselves separated and trapped beneath the rubble. Struggling for survival, Hulk, War Machine, and Rocket Raccoon faced imminent peril as the compound collapsed around them. Ant-Man raced to their rescue while Hawkeye navigated the access tunnels with the Nano Gauntlet, pursued by a relentless horde of Outriders. Elsewhere, Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor encountered Thanos amidst the devastation, opting to confront him once more. Just in time, Ant-Man rescued Hulk, War Machine, and Rocket from their dire situation. Meanwhile, Hawkeye valiantly defended the gauntlet against the relentless onslaught of Outriders. Despite his efforts, Nebula approached him, prompting Hawkeye to entrust her with the gauntlet, only to discover that she was not the Nebula he knew. Present Nebula intervened, eliminating her past self as Hawkeye continued to safeguard the gauntlet. Outside, Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor converged on Thanos, determined to prevent him from seizing the gauntlet. Thanos taunted the Avengers, proclaiming his intent to use the Infinity Stones to wipe out all existence and forge a new reality. The ensuing battle saw the Avengers valiantly fighting against the indomitable foe. Despite their united efforts, Thanos proved to be too formidable, besting each of 3 Avengers in combat. As Thanos neared victory over Thor with Stormbreaker, Captain America intervened, wielding Mjolnir to halt the assault. Thor, witnessing Captain America's mastery of the legendary weapon, rejoiced in his long-held suspicion being confirmed. However, Thanos soon gained the upper hand, overwhelming Captain America and shattering his shield. Battle of Earth. Having faced defeat, Thanos reveled in his triumph, declaring his intent to obliterate Earth out of spite for its heroes. Despite the overwhelming odds, Captain America refused to yield, rising once more to confront the colossal army alone. Just as all hope seemed lost, Captain America received a crucial message from Falcon, heralding the arrival of a multitude of heroes through countless portals. Emerging from these portals were heroes from various factions, including those lost to the Snap, Guardians of the Galaxy, Masters of the Mystic Arts, Wakandan armies, Asgardians, and Ravagers, all resurrected by Hulk's snap. Under Captain America's leadership, the United Allies stood, rallying behind his call to assemble. With renewed determination, they charged headlong into battle against Thanos' formidable forces. The clash marked the beginning of an epic confrontation, with the Avengers and their newfound allies fighting side by side to vanquish the Mad Titan and his army once and for all. In the heat of battle, Captain America and Thor fought alongside each other, wielding Mjolnir and Stormbreaker in unison. Meanwhile, Iron Man found himself reunited with Spider-Man, who came to his aid against Cull Obsidian. Elsewhere on the battlefield, Hawkeye safeguarded the Nano Gauntlet, placing himself in grave danger. Falcon intervened to rescue him from a Chitauri gorilla, prompting Hawkeye to seek guidance from Captain America on what to do with the gauntlet. Captain America instructed him to take it far from the battlefield. However, Hulk interjected, emphasizing the need to return the Infinity Stones to their original timelines. Iron Man revealed the destruction of their quantum tunnel by Thanos, but Ant-Man proposed a solution, citing the existence of another quantum tunnel in the van. Ant-Man and Wasp embarked on the task of activating it, while the rest of the heroes focused on delivering the gauntlet to them. As Iron Man checked in with Doctor Strange to ensure they were in the reality where they emerged victorious, Hawkeye found himself overwhelmed by Thanos' forces, only to be saved by Black Panther, who took possession of the gauntlet. However, when Thanos attempted to seize the gauntlet from Black Panther, Wanda Maximoff confronted him, seeking vengeance for Vision's death. Unbeknownst to her, it was a different Thanos, but she nonetheless managed to overpower the Mad Titan. Spider-Man then took hold of the gauntlet, but before Maximoff could finish Thanos off, he ordered an airstrike, causing Spider-Man to drop the gauntlet. The heroes faced the onslaught from Sanctuary 2 until Captain Marvel returned to Earth and effortlessly destroyed the massive ship. Upon being briefed on the plan, Captain Marvel received the gauntlet from Spider-Man and attempted to reach the quantum tunnel. Despite encountering a formidable blockade of Thanos' forces, Maximoff, Okoye, Nebula, and others joined her in clearing a path. However, Thanos destroyed the quantum tunnel with his double-edged sword, causing Captain Marvel to lose the gauntlet. Iron Man attempted to stop Thanos but was swiftly defeated. Thor and Captain America then engaged Thanos in battle but were also incapacitated. In a desperate move, Captain Marvel tried to prevent Thanos from snapping his fingers, but he overpowered her and used the Power Stone to increase his strength. Despite her efforts, Captain Marvel was knocked unconscious. Just when all seemed lost, Doctor Strange signaled to Iron Man that they were in the reality where they triumphed. Summoning his last reserves of strength, Iron Man managed to seize the gauntlet from Thanos and covertly integrated the Infinity Stones into his armor. As Thanos snapped his fingers, nothing happened. Iron Man then revealed that he had taken control of the stones and snapped his own fingers, eradicating Thanos and his entire army, securing victory for the Avengers. The death of Tony Stark. As the world rejoiced over the restoration of those lost in the snap, including some of the Avengers who reunited with their families, the somber reality of Tony Stark's sacrifice lingered heavily over the heroes. A funeral was held at Stark's home a few days later, where the remaining original Avengers and James Rhodes gathered to honor their fallen comrade. During the funeral, the Avengers paid their respects to Stark, reflecting on his legacy and the impact he had on their lives and the world. They watched a recorded message left by Stark, a final testament to his unwavering resolve and dedication to protecting humanity. After the emotional farewell, the Avengers, along with their allies, stood outside as Stark's arc reactor, a symbol of his journey as Iron Man, was sent adrift. Legacy of the Avengers. The aftermath of the Avengers' victory over Thanos saw the team disbanded, with each member returning to their respective lives and duties. Clint Barton found solace in reuniting with Wanda Maximoff, mourning the losses of Natasha Romanoff and Vision together. Barton returned to retirement while Maximoff grappled with her grief, briefly creating a false reality with Vision. Scott Lang and Peter Parker resumed their civilian lives, leaving behind their roles as Avengers. Lang enjoyed time with Hope Van Dyne and his daughter, while Parker returned to high school, preferring to avoid further superhero responsibilities. Okoye resumed her duties in Wakanda, while Rocket Raccoon, Nebula, and Thor rejoined the Guardians of the Galaxy. Carol Danvers continued her cosmic adventures. The Avengers' final mission involved returning the Infinity Stones to their original timelines. Bruce Banner, Steve Rogers, and Sam Wilson worked together to rebuild the Quantum Tunnel. Rogers volunteered to carry out the mission, but he didn't return as expected. Eventually, Wilson encountered an elderly Rogers who had chosen to live out his life with Peggy Carter in the past. Rogers passed the shield on to Wilson, who became the new Captain America. The Avengers' heroic deeds were celebrated worldwide, with the fallen heroes honored for their sacrifices. Ajak, the leader of the Eternals, was moved by their actions, leading her to question her mission. Despite the Avengers' absence, their legacy endured, with a Broadway musical chronicling Rogers' life and achievements. In 2025, the remaining Avengers were approached to write the official account of their battle against Thanos, with Lang chosen for the task. He published a book detailing his journey to becoming a hero. Rumors circulated about the Avengers reforming, while fan events like AvengerCon celebrated their legacy and impact on the world. And with that, we have reached the end of our Avengers timeline. I hope you enjoyed this video. What is your favorite era of the Avengers? What's your favorite Avengers movie, and who is your favorite Avenger? Make sure you let us know down in the comments. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to Cinematica for more like this. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.